Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's frozen cake pop tutorial, where I'm going to be showing you how to make all of your favourite frozen characters into delicious cake pops. This has been so incredibly heavily requested, so if you guys think I've done a good job on it, I'd love it if you'd give it a like, give it a share, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tools and equipment that you'll need today: I've got a Ziploc bag and I've also got just some regular sticky tape. I've got 6 cake pop balls ready to go, and I've also got my frozen templates, so I'm going to leave a link to both these templates and our cake pop ball recipe in the description box below. I've got some paintbrushes and I'm using really nice soft kind of fluffy paintbrushes today for a bit of dry work, some lollipop sticks, just a piece of chocolate or a chocolate melt, some mini M&Ms in brown. I've got some melted dark chocolate, some melted white chocolate, a pair of scissors and a butter knife, and I've got my Lustre dusts. So Lustre dust is basically like a shimmery powder that you buy from cake decorating shops, and I've got mine in light blue, pink, purple, which I didn't use, dark blue, and just a white shimmer. I've also got just a flat tray and a couple of bits of wax paper to rest our pops on today. So let's get started. You firstly want to shape your cake pop balls. So these have not been refrigerated, they're not firmed up just yet. You want to take your first pop ball and you just want to rock it between the palm of your hands with your hands on a bit of an angle to make sort of this triangle-y shape, and then take it and just smack it on the bench a couple of times to give it a really nice flat bottom. You just want to sort of shape it so that what you've got is a long triangle shape. That's going to make one of our princess skirts. And then you want to repeat this process exactly the same for your second one, because we've got 2 princesses today and we want both of their skirts to be roughly the same. Once you've done those, we're going to shape Hans's legs. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't incredibly happy with how Hans turned out, but I felt like his legs should have been taller and a little bit sharper on the edges. For your 4th cake pop, just take it, that nice ball, and just kind of squish it. Don't go too thin here. And then I just sort of made mine a little bit more of an ovally shape than a round shape. For your 5th ball, you want to tear off 1/4 of that ball, and then you want to roll the larger portion into a nice round ball, and then do the same with your smaller portion. This is going to be Olaf, and his body's in 2 parts, so we kind of want that bigger and smaller ball, and your final one is just going to stay exactly as it is. It doesn't even have to be particularly neat. Pop these ones all off into the fridge for at least 15 to 20 minutes until they're really nice and firmly set. Coming back from the fridge, all of your cake pops should be set really nice and hard, so you shouldn't be able to push them out of shape. And you want to take your first round ball. It's going to have a slightly flat bottom on it. That's perfect. Leave the flat bottom on the base. Dip your lollipop stick into a bit of that dark chocolate. Pop your ball on the wax paper and just stick that lollipop stick straight in, letting that cake pop rest on the flat bottom. Moving on to Olaf, you want to take the lollipop stick and you just want to stick it straight through the center. No chocolate or anything on the stick, with about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch sticking out the bottom. Dip that into your white chocolate and use the white chocolate to essentially join your larger circle and your smaller circle together. For your other ones, the 3 taller ones, these are a little bit more of an awkward shape, so you want your lollipop stick to be coming about halfway down the shape. So just basically dipping that lollipop stick straight into the white chocolate, and as I insert it, particularly into the girls' skirts, I'm twisting that cake pop stick because it's helping to insert it a little bit easier and it goes in without cracking the cake pop ball. Do that with all 3 of your taller, so your pants and your 2 skirts. And then for your little flat piece, this is going to be a bit of an iceberg, but it's a really problematic shape to actually dip. So I just took my knife or a spoon and just scooped some white chocolate out over the top of it, making sure that you cover it completely. And then you want to take a bit more of that melted white chocolate, and we're just going to scoop that out straight down onto the wax paper to give it sort of a bit of a base or a bit of a foot. Be quite generous with this coat that's straight on the wax paper because you do need a good support for this cake pop. And then just use your knife to lift the cake pop up and sit it on top so it's got a nice foot. Once again, doesn't have to be perfect. Dip a lollipop stick into the white chocolate and insert it straight into the center of your little iceberg cake pop. All of those are going back off into the fridge only for about 5 minutes or so to let that chocolate completely set. Once all of your pops are set, it's time to dip the rest of them. So as I mentioned, one of them is going to be chocolate brown. Before I dip, I always like to take a lollipop stick or a spoon or something and just stir up my chocolate right before I pop those pops in. It just helps to keep it really nice and fluid and gives you a really nice neat dip. Dip your cake pop in so that it comes all the way over the chocolate seal and your chocolate's meeting up with that lollipop stick, and just shake off any excess and then press it down onto that wax paper and that chocolate will form a nice base. The rest of your cake pops are all going to be dipped in white, so you can move your brown to the side and you just want to take them and just dip them straight in. Once again, making sure your white chocolate comes over that nice set firm seal, tapping off a little bit of the excess, but don't tap off too much because you want it to form a nice little foot. As you can see there, when I pop them down on the wax paper, the chocolate kind of slides out a little bit and gives them a really nice flat base, so they're not going to wobble around, they're going to be quite stable. Do that with your two skirts and also Hans's pants. And then for your final one, Olaf, you want to take your dark chocolate or your dark candy melt and you just want to cut essentially two little stick-sized pieces for his arms. So you'll break a couple here, but just cut a couple until you've got two little pieces that you're happy with. Take Olaf, dip him into your melted white chocolate. Make sure that you've got your sticks and your little brown M&Ms at the ready here. Pop Olaf onto the piece of wax paper and straight away, working quite quickly, pop one M&M on his top circle and the other two M&Ms sort of coming down like buttons on his little bottom circle. Take those two chocolate arms and stick them straight in, kind of up in the air like they're waving around. A little bit more of that white chocolate goes into your Ziploc bag, push it all the way to the end, let any air out and just snip off a bit of a rough tip here. It doesn't have to be any exact size. And then we're just using it just to drizzle some of that white chocolate onto our little boulder. This is supposed to look like freshly fallen snow that's just come onto the boulder. Give it a little couple of taps just to drizzle that snow down and then pop it back on the wax paper. Perfect. Now, if you get any cracks in your cake pop ball, and it is more likely to happen on your taller ones, take that Ziploc bag again and just squeeze a little bit of that melted white chocolate into the crack, making sure that you come about a centimetre or so past where the crack starts and finishes. Count to about 5 to let that chocolate start to set, and then just use your finger and just wipe it off. It's going to press the chocolate into the crack and it's going to seal up that crack so your cake pop's salvageable. Taking Hans's pants now, you just want to use the back of your knife and just kind of gently slide up and down to make a bit of a definite gap between his pants legs, but don't go too hard or you'll crack the cake pop ball. Taking your Lustre dust now and start with your lighter blue so that if you mess up your surface and your brushes, you can just move on to your darker colours anyway. And we're just going to brush this down straight onto that set white chocolate. Normally with a Lustre dust, I like to use a little bit of alcohol because it gets you a little bit more out of the Lustre dust and it helps it to dry a little bit faster. But I know that these are going to go mostly to kids, and a lot of people don't like kids having alcohol, even though the alcohol completely evaporates. So you can see there I'm just using those nice dry brushes and I'm just really just taking Lustre dust and I'm just brushing it on. So this one here is just our iceberg. Once again, don't worry if some white's poking through because it's supposed to look like snow and ice. Pop that one off to the side. Moving on to our darker blue now, and I started off with Hans's pants. So just covering them completely in that darker blue, making sure that you get into all of your little cracks. And when it comes to Anna, you want to just make like a dark blue triangle at the front, but leave the back of her white because this is actually going to be for her pink or purple cape. I had pink and purple both at the ready, and when I put them next to her, she's got both colours in her cape, but the pink looked a lot better and seemed to match the template a lot better. So you can see there I've got the front of her is blue and the back of her is pink, which is actually going to blend in really, really beautifully with our template. Now you want to take your two Olaf and your boulder, and with the boulder, just a tiny bit of shimmer on the top just to give it kind of that snow effect. And same again with Olaf, so you don't need to give him too much here. He's just getting a little bit of a shine. Finally, it's time to start affixing our templates. So I'm just using a little bit of sticky tape and just stick it straight down onto your template. And you want to bring it so that your cake pop stick is quite tightly positioned in that sticky tape, so your templates aren't going to move around. So bring it in nice and close either side of your cake pop stick. Sven here on his ice block, and he's kind of splayed down, skidding across it. Then comes Anna, so the same thing again for Anna, and you can see that her cape and her skirt just go beautifully together. This was my Hans, and once again, I would have preferred it if his pants had have been a little bit taller, but he's still a dapper gentleman regardless. With Elsa. Now with Elsa, I found because she is so skinny in the waist, you want a really, really small piece of sticky tape, but you are going to have to trim that off on either side because she's just very, very thin and it's hard to maneuver a piece of sticky tape that small. With Kristoff, you want his foot sitting on top of the boulder, and then you want his other foot kind of hanging off the edge, like he's standing on the ground, putting one foot up on that sort of rock or that boulder. And then finally with Olaf, we're just going to stick his head straight on. So there you've got your completed little selection of Frozen characters. As I said, I had literally hundreds of requests for something Frozen. So I hope that I've managed to create something that all of you Frozen fans out there will absolutely love and will be happy to share with your friends and family. As always, thanks very much for tuning in to My Cupcake Addiction.